The evening started like any other busy night in the restaurant, but something felt different the moment Mia walked in. She was a kind and hardworking waitress who always tried her best. She smiled at every customer, even when she was tired or stressed. People liked her because she made them feel welcome. But today, her smile felt a little heavy. She did not know why. She only felt a strange pressure in her heart, like something was quietly waiting for her. Mia tied her apron, checked her small notepad, and stepped into the dining area. The restaurant lights were warm and soft. The sound of people talking and laughing filled the air. Steam rose from freshly cooked dishes. Everything looked normal, but Mia sensed that something unusual would happen. Then she noticed table 7. A man sat there, alone, with calm eyes that watched everything around him. He was not rude or loud. He did not call for her. He simply observed the room like he understood people better than they understood themselves. His face was peaceful, but his eyes were sharp, like they could see small details others missed. Mia did not know the man. Actually, she never saw him before, but looking at him made her feel strangely safe. She did not understand why. She only nodded politely as she walked past him to serve another customer. The man's eyes followed her for a moment, soft but focused, and then returned to his coffee. Mia continued her shift. She took orders, wrote notes, smiled, and delivered food across the tables. Everything was fine until her manager, Mr. Harlan, called her name. "Mia," he said sharply. His voice carried a tone she knew too well. It was the voice he used whenever he wanted to show authority. He was strict by nature, and sometimes he became unfair without even realizing it. Mia immediately turned toward him with a polite expression. "Yes, sir?" He walked closer. His eyebrows were tight and his expression serious. "Come with me," he said quietly. Mia blinked. "Right now?" "Yes, now." He did not sound angry, but his tone carried pressure. He reached toward her arm, not hurting her, but firm enough to show he wanted her to follow. The action made Mia uncomfortable, but she obeyed. She didn't want to cause trouble. She didn't want other customers to notice anything strange. But someone did notice. The man at table 7 lifted his head slowly. His calm expression did not change, but his eyes narrowed as he watched the manager take Mia toward the hallway that led to the staff bathrooms. He placed his coffee cup down gently and continued observing every step, every move, as if the whole scene mattered deeply to him. Mia walked behind the manager, confused and nervous. Her heart beat faster. She tried to remember if she made any mistake. Did she drop something? Did she forget an order? Did she speak to someone in the wrong tone? Nothing came to mind. She had done everything correctly. They reached the hallway, a quiet place away from the customers. The lights there were dim, and the sound of the restaurant became faint. Mia felt even more uneasy. She kept her notepad close to her chest as the manager stopped near the bathroom door. "I need to speak with you privately," he said. Mia swallowed softly. "Did I do something wrong?" The manager looked at her with frustration. "A customer complained about slow service at table 3. They said you took too long." Mia frowned slightly. She remembered table 3 clearly. She had served them quickly. She had brought drinks within minutes. She had checked on them twice. There was no way they complained, but she did not argue. She simply stayed quiet. Before she could explain, the manager opened the bathroom door and motioned for her to step inside. At that exact moment, the man at table 7 stood up from his chair. He did not rush. He did not show anger. He simply rose with steady calmness, his eyes never leaving the hallway. He began walking toward the back of the restaurant with slow, controlled steps. No one stopped him. No one even noticed him move. Meanwhile, Mia stepped inside the bathroom. The manager followed, closing the door behind him. The sound of the latch clicking made Mia's heart drop slightly. She didn't feel in danger, but she felt trapped in a moment she didn't fully understand. Inside, the manager began speaking quickly, blaming her again and again for things she didn't do. His words were sharp. His tone was heavy. Mia stood still with her hands folded tightly around her notepad, trying to stay respectful. But far down the hallway, a calm shadow approached. The man from table 7 walked closer with steady footsteps, his expression unreadable but his eyes full of purpose. He stopped right outside the bathroom door and listened quietly. Something inside him told him that Mia needed him, and he wasn't going to ignore it. The bathroom lights were bright, but the air inside felt strangely heavy. Mia stood near the wall with her hands folded politely, trying her best to stay calm. She didn't want to make the manager angry. She didn't want him to think she was talking back. She had learned long ago that staying calm was the safest path with him. Mr. Harlan paced slowly in front of her. His shoes tapped sharply on the floor. His face showed frustration, but Mia knew his mood changed quickly. Sometimes he was strict but fair. Other times he blamed people without checking the truth. Today felt like one of those unfair days. "Mia," he began, shaking his head, "you must be faster." "Table 3 said you took too long." Mia gently lifted her eyes. "Sir, I served them on time. I even checked twice if they needed anything." The manager sighed loudly like he was tired of hearing excuses. "You always think you're right," he muttered. "But customers don't lie." Mia felt a sting in her chest. She never argued. She never wanted trouble. But this time she knew she hadn't done anything wrong. She kept her voice soft. "Sir, I always try my best." The manager stopped pacing and looked at her with sharp eyes. He leaned closer, not aggressively, just in a way that made her feel small. "Trying is not enough," he said. "You must work like you want this job." Mia looked down at the floor. She wished someone could hear what was happening. She wished someone knew the truth. But the hallway outside was empty. No one was near. At least that's what she believed. Because unknown to her, someone actually was near. Right outside the bathroom door, the man from table 7, Daniel, stood quietly. He did not push the door. He did not interrupt. He simply listened with calm, patient focus. He heard the manager's tone. He heard Mia's soft voice. He understood everything. His hands stayed in his pockets, but his jaw tightened slightly. He knew Mia well. He knew she never complained, even when she was hurt. He knew she tried to handle everything alone. But he also knew when something wasn't fair. Inside, the manager continued speaking, unaware that someone listened from just inches away. "Mia," he said, "this restaurant has rules. And one rule is that staff do not question complaints." She nodded softly. "I understand, sir. I need you to do better," the manager added sharply. "You're slipping." Mia felt her throat tighten. "I'm really trying, sir." But the manager only shook his head again. His voice grew heavier. "If this continues, we will need to talk about your place here." Mia felt her heart sink. She loved this job. She worked long hours because she needed the income. She took extra shifts to help her family. Losing this job would hurt her life deeply. She blinked back the sting in her eyes. She refused to cry. "Not here, not like this." She spoke again with a trembling but respectful voice. "Sir, please." "I didn't get any complaint." The manager paused. For a moment, his expression softened. But then he straightened, brushing the feeling away. "Maybe you didn't hear it," he said quickly. "Maybe someone told me instead of telling you." Mia didn't believe it, but she didn't argue. Outside the door, Daniel exhaled slowly, a deep, controlled breath. He wasn't angry. He wasn't emotional. He was simply watching the truth unfold. He was a man who lived his life calmly, but he didn't ignore things that mattered, and Mia mattered. Inside the bathroom, silence settled for a moment. The manager rubbed his forehead. "Mia, I'm trying to help you. But you can't work here if you make mistakes like this." Mia's voice broke a little. "I didn't make a mistake." The manager's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me?" She swallowed. I mean, I did my best, sir." He stepped back, shaking his head again. "Let's stop talking for now." Go wash your face and return when you're ready. And Mia, please stop disappointing me. The words hit her like a cold wave. The manager turned toward the door, ready to unlock it. But before his hand touched the lock, there was a soft knock. It was gentle, calm, not angry. But something in the sound felt strong. Mia raised her head slightly. The manager frowned. Who's there? There was a pause. Then a voice, steady, deep, and calm, answered from the other side. It's me. The manager froze for a second. The voice felt familiar somehow, but he couldn't place it. Mia's heart picked up. She recognized the voice instantly. It was the man from table 7, the man who had been watching everything quietly, the man whose gaze had felt safe. Without waiting for permission, the man spoke again, voice still calm but firmer now. Is everything all right in there? The manager stiffened. His confidence slipped for the first time. He quickly adjusted his shirt, cleared his throat, and forced a friendly tone. Yes, everything is fine, he said loudly. Just a small work discussion. Another moment of silence passed outside. Then the man replied, Good, because I want to make sure she's okay. The manager blinked, surprised. Mia's eyes widened, shocked. Outside the door, Daniel stood tall, his calm expression hiding a deep seriousness. He knew Mia didn't like attention, but he also knew he couldn't stay quiet anymore. Inside, the manager felt a sudden wave of nerves. For the first time that night, he realized he might not be in control of this moment after all. The air inside the small bathroom shifted the moment that gentle knock came. It wasn't loud. It wasn't forceful. But it carried a weight that neither Mia nor the manager expected. It was the kind of knock that said, I see everything. Mia looked toward the door with wide, surprised eyes. She knew that voice. She didn't understand why he was here, but a tiny feeling of relief warmed her chest. Meanwhile, the manager, Mr. Harlan, felt something else, pressure. His shoulders stiffened. A small drop of worry rolled across his forehead. He straightened his shirt quickly and forced his voice to sound normal. Yes, everything is fine. He repeated loudly, as if saying it twice made it more true. But the voice from outside replied calmly, Good. Then please open the door. Mia's breath caught. The manager's face lost color. He turned to her sharply, whispering, Why is someone looking for you? Mia shook her head. I don't know, sir. But deep inside, she did know. Not fully, not clearly, but she felt it. She felt that the man from table 7 wasn't just a stranger. He was here for a reason she didn't yet understand. The manager let out a slow, frustrated breath, then reached for the door. He unlocked it and pulled it open, just enough to see who was standing outside. And there he was. The man from table 7, Daniel. He stood tall and calm, his hands gently folded in front of him. His face was peaceful, but his eyes were sharp like quiet lightning. He didn't look angry. He didn't look emotional. He just looked aware, fully aware. The manager opened the door a little wider, trying to force a smile. Yes? He asked. Daniel tilted his head slightly, studying the manager. I want to speak with the waitress. His voice was simple, soft, but something in the tone made the manager swallow nervously. Mia peeked past the manager, her eyes catching Daniel's for a brief second. His expression softened when he saw her, but only for her, not for anyone else. The manager stepped halfway out of the doorway, blocking the entrance with his body. This is staff area, he said quickly. Customers are not allowed here. Daniel didn't move. He didn't try to step inside. He just stood there with steady eyes. I understand, he replied, but I saw how you took her from the dining area. I want to make sure she is okay. The manager forced a laugh. She's fine. We were only discussing a mistake. Mia flinched at the word mistake. Daniel noticed. He shifted his eyes slowly back to the manager. What mistake? The manager hesitated. A customer complaint. Which table? Daniel asked instantly. The manager blinked. He hadn't expected that question. Table 3. Daniel stayed silent for a moment. Then he said softly, I was watching. Table 3 never spoke to you. The manager's face turned slightly red. Mia's heart skipped. She remembered Daniel had been sitting in a place where he could see every table clearly. Daniel continued, I saw her serving them quickly. I saw her check on them. They looked happy. The manager rubbed his palms together nervously. You must be mistaken. Daniel's eyes narrowed just a little. I don't get mistaken about things like this. His voice was still calm, too calm. The kind of calm that made the truth heavier. The manager felt trapped. He stepped back slightly, allowing Mia to be seen. Daniel looked at her gently. Are you okay? Mia nodded quickly. I'm fine. But Daniel could tell she wasn't fine. Her voice was soft. Her shoulders were tight. The worry in her eyes told him everything he needed to know. He didn't push her to speak. He didn't question her in front of the manager. Good, he said softly. I just wanted to make sure. The manager stepped aside awkwardly. As I said, everything is under control. Daniel's eyes lingered on the manager longer this time. Control is only real when it's fair, he said quietly. The words hit the manager like a cold wind. There was no threat in them, no anger, just truth. Calm, sharp truth. The hallway grew silent. In that moment, something strange happened inside Mia. She realized this man wasn't just curious. He wasn't just a polite customer. He cared. Not because he knew her well, but because he believed people deserved respect. The manager tried to regain confidence. She will return to work now. But Daniel shook his head slightly. She will return when she feels ready. The manager blinked. What? Daniel nodded toward Mia, as if giving her silent permission to breathe, to step out, to choose. Take your time, he told her gently. Mia felt a soft warmth in her chest. No one had spoken to her like that in a long time. The manager felt cornered. Sir, you can't decide staff matters. Daniel finally smiled, calm, small, and unsettlingly controlled. I'm not deciding anything, he said. I'm simply reminding you that kindness is free. You should try using it. The manager had no answer. Mia stepped out of the bathroom slowly, her heart beating with a mix of confusion and relief. She walked past the manager and stood near Daniel, not touching him, but feeling safe beside him. The manager watched helplessly as Daniel turned slightly toward her and said, Let's return to the dining area. You don't have to face anything alone. And as they walked together, the manager realized something. This was not just a customer. This man had a presence stronger than any rule on the wall. A presence that said he wouldn't let unfairness hide behind closed doors. The locked door had opened, but the truth was only beginning to unfold. The walk back toward the dining area felt slow for Mia. She kept her steps steady, but inside her chest, everything felt warm and shaky at the same time. Daniel walked a little behind her, giving her space, never rushing. He didn't touch her or speak loudly. He simply stayed near her like a quiet shield, solid, calm, and ready. When they reached the brighter part of the hallway, the noise of plates and soft music returned. The normal restaurant sounds made Mia feel a little safer. But the moment she stepped forward, she felt the eyes of staff members watching. Some of them had seen the manager walk her away earlier. Now they saw her return with a calm stranger walking behind her. Whispers began. Who is he? Did she call him? He looks very serious. Mia felt shy, even embarrassed, but Daniel's voice came gently from behind her. It's all right, he said softly. She didn't turn around, but the simple reassurance helped her breathe again. They reached table 7. Daniel pulled out the chair for her, not as a dramatic gesture, but with quiet respect. Sit, he told her gently. Mia hesitated. I'm working, sir. He shook his head. You're a person first. Those words touched her deeply. She sat slowly, unsure if she was breaking any rule. Daniel sat across from her, his expression calm but serious. He studied her face carefully, noticing the tension in her shoulders, the small tremble in her fingers. the way she kept trying to hide her worry. "You don't have to pretend you're fine," he said quietly. Mia lowered her eyes. "I don't want trouble, sir." "You didn't cause any trouble," Daniel replied. "You were treated unfairly." His voice was gentle, not accusing. But his words carried a truth she had kept hidden for too long. Mia took a deep breath. "I don't want the manager to think I complained." Daniel leaned back, watching her with patient eyes. "You didn't complain. I saw something wrong, and I stepped in." Mia looked up slightly. "Why? You don't know me." Daniel's lips curved into the softest, saddest smile. "Sometimes you're going to need to know a person to see when they're hurting." Mia felt her throat tighten again. She looked down at her hands. "Thank you. But I'm scared I will lose my job now." Daniel didn't speak for a moment. Instead, he quietly observed the room. He noticed how some waiters watched Mia with worry. He noticed how the manager stood near the coffee machine, pretending to work but clearly anxious, glancing at them again and again. Daniel returned his gaze to Mia. "You won't lose your job," he said softly. "How do you know?" she whispered. He paused for a moment, then answered in a voice deeper than before. "Because I won't let that happen." Mia's heart jumped. She studied Daniel carefully now, truly noticing him. His calm nature, his quiet strength, the confidence behind his soft words. She wondered who he really was. "Sir, may I ask something?" she said. Daniel nodded. "Who are you?" He smiled gently. "Just someone who cares about fairness." But that was not the full truth. As Mia watched him, she noticed something small but strange. A ring on his hand, simple silver and worn out from years of use. Something about it felt familiar. Then she remembered. A married man had once come to the restaurant long ago, waiting for his wife every evening. His wife worked late hours, and he always sat at table 7 to keep her company quietly. Mia's eyes widened slowly. "Sir, are you married?" Daniel looked down for a moment, then lifted his eyes to hers. "Yes." Mia nodded, expecting him to say more. She didn't want to pry, but his calm strength made her curious. "Is she coming?" Mia asked softly. A shadow passed through Daniel's eyes. His voice lowered. "No, she passed away 2 years ago." Mia's breath caught. I'm so sorry." Daniel smiled sadly. "Thank you." She worked at a place like this. She faced the same things you face. Unfair treatment. Blame for no reason. Stress she didn't deserve. Mia felt a chill. She suddenly understood. This wasn't just a stranger helping out of kindness. This was a man who had once watched someone he loved suffer silently. Daniel continued. "She never complained. She always said it wasn't worth the trouble. But I always saw the truth. And I promised myself, if I ever saw it happen to someone else, I wouldn't stay quiet." Mia's eyes burned with emotion. "You helped me because I reminded you of her." Daniel shook his head. "No, I helped you because you deserved respect." She looked away, trying to stop tears. No one had ever spoken to her with such calm truth before, but the moment of peace didn't last long. The restaurant owner walked in from the front door, looking confused and serious. A staff member had clearly called him. His eyes scanned the room until they landed on the manager. And then on Daniel sitting with Mia. His expression changed instantly. Something inside him seemed to recognize Daniel. He walked forward slowly, carefully, respectfully. Mia noticed this change and whispered, "Do you know him?" Daniel didn't answer, but the owner's face did. The owner stopped beside their table, swallowed nervously and said, "Sir, I didn't know you were here." Mia froze. The manager's face turned pale. Daniel, calm as ever, simply replied, "I didn't want anyone to know." And for the first time, Mia realized Daniel wasn't just any man. He wasn't just watching. He wasn't just helping. He was someone powerful, someone everyone else already knew. Except her. The owner's sudden arrival changed the whole atmosphere of the restaurant. Moments ago, customers were laughing, forks were clinking, and waiters were moving fast between tables. But now, everything felt slower, heavier. It was as if the room itself understood that something important was happening. The owner stood beside table 7 with careful posture, like someone standing near a quiet storm. His eyes stayed lowered, his hands gently folded. Mia had never seen him act like this. He usually spoke loudly, moved quickly, and made decisions without fear. But now he looked almost nervous. Daniel lifted his eyes to the owner. No anger, no pride, just calm control. "I didn't want attention," Daniel said softly. "I apologize, sir," the owner replied quickly. "If I had known you were here, I would have greeted you myself." Mia watched both men carefully. She felt small between them, like she had stepped into a world she didn't understand. She whispered to Daniel, "Sir, what is happening?" Daniel didn't answer. His eyes remained fixed on the owner. "Is there a problem?" he asked. The owner swallowed. "No, sir. Never a problem with you." The manager, who had been pretending to wipe the coffee machine, finally stepped forward. His face was pale, and his hands shook slightly. "Owner, I can explain," but the owner raised his hand sharply. "Do not speak yet." The manager froze mid-step. The owner turned back to Daniel with a respectful tone. "Sir, if something happened with my staff, please allow me to handle it immediately." Daniel's calm voice filled the space between them. "Your manager took the waitress away to scold her for a mistake she did not make." The owner's jaw tensed. He didn't argue. He didn't defend his manager. He simply nodded, listening carefully like a student. Daniel continued. He blamed her without checking facts. And he spoke to her in a way that wasn't respectful. The owner shot a sharp look at the manager. "Is this true?" The manager tried to laugh nervously. "Sir, I was only guiding her." Daniel's voice cut through softly, but firmly. "You locked the door." The entire room went quiet. Even customers at nearby tables paused with forks in the air. The manager's face turned red. "Sir, I didn't lock it for anything wrong." Daniel tilted his head. "Then why lock it?" The manager opened his mouth, but no words came out. The owner stepped closer to him. "I told you many times, never handle staff in private unless it is a positive conversation." His voice grew sharper. "Why did you break that rule?" The manager's lips trembled. "Sir, I thought she needed a..." The owner didn't let him finish. "You thought wrong." His voice dropped lower. "And you did it in front of him?" A chill moved through the manager's whole body. Mia watched helplessly. She didn't want her manager to lose his job, but she also remembered how scared she felt in that bathroom. She remembered how small she felt, how unfair it was. Daniel glanced at her gently, noticing her worry. "You don't have to defend him," he said softly. "You were the one treated unfairly." Mia lowered her eyes, holding her apron tightly. She wasn't used to someone standing up for her. She wasn't used to being seen. The owner then turned to Mia with a softer expression. "Did he make you uncomfortable?" Mia hesitated. She didn't want to cause more trouble. But Daniel's quiet strength beside her helped her speak honestly. "Yes," she whispered. "He blamed me for something I didn't do." The owner's shoulders dropped with disappointment. He turned back to the manager. "You lied to me earlier when you said she needed extra correction." The manager panicked. Sir, I swear I didn't mean anything bad." But his excuses had no strength left. Daniel finally stood up. The entire restaurant went silent. He didn't look threatening. He didn't raise his voice. But when Daniel stood, everyone felt the shift in energy. His voice carried calm truth. "I don't want anyone fired because of me. But I want fairness and respect. For her and for everyone else." The owner nodded instantly. "Of course, sir. I agree fully." Daniel looked at the manager. "You don't need to fear me," he said softly. "I'm not here to destroy your job. But learn something today." The manager watched him with nervous eyes. "Do not take out your stress on people who cannot fight back," Daniel continued. "If you correct someone, do it with dignity. Not pressure." The words were simple, but they hit harder than any shouting could. The manager lowered his head. I understand. Daniel nodded once. The matter wasn't over, but the truth had already changed the room. Then he turned toward Mia. Come, he said softly. Mia stood. Her legs shook slightly, but she followed him. They walked away from table 7 toward a quieter corner of the restaurant. She whispered, Sir, thank you. I don't know how to repay your kindness. Daniel looked at her gently. Kindness isn't something you repay. It's something you continue. Those words touched her deeper than anything he had said before. Behind them, the owner faced the manager. From now on, the owner said, you will treat every worker with respect, or you won't stay here another day. The manager nodded quickly. But as Mia walked beside Daniel, one question burned inside her. Why did the owner fear him? Who exactly was Daniel? And why did Daniel keep saying, I didn't want anyone to know I was here? The truth was coming, and Mia had no idea how big that truth really was. The restaurant slowly returned to its usual rhythm, but something had changed. Customers were eating again, waiters were walking around, and the kitchen noise returned, but everyone still kept one eye on Daniel and Mia. There was something about Daniel's presence that made people curious. They didn't know who he was, yet the entire atmosphere shifted because of him. Mia sat across from Daniel near the window now, far from table 7. She felt safer in the corner. The sunlight from the glass made the space brighter, calmer. But her heart was still beating faster than usual. Daniel looked outside quietly before turning to her. Are you feeling all right now? He asked softly. Mia nodded, though her voice was small. Better. I'm glad, Daniel replied. You didn't deserve what happened. She lowered her eyes. Things like this happen sometimes. Daniel studied her face, noticing how she tried to hide the truth behind gentle words. Just because something happens often doesn't make it right. Mia didn't reply. She simply looked down at her notepad, the one she always carried. She held it like it was a part of her, a reminder of her hard work. Daniel looked at it too. You work with care, he said. I saw how you handled every table. Mia's cheeks warmed slightly. She wasn't used to compliments. Thank you. I just want to do good. You do, Daniel said with certainty. At that moment, the manager walked toward them slowly, almost like he feared each step. His shoulders were smaller now, his voice quieter. He stopped at a safe distance. Sir, the manager said, then turned to Mia. And Mia, I want to apologize. Mia looked up in surprise. She had never heard the manager apologize to anyone before. The manager continued, voice trembling. I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. I was stressed, and I took it out on you. That wasn't right. He looked at Daniel quickly, then back at Mia. I will be more careful. You have my word. Mia nodded nervously. Thank you, sir. Daniel didn't say anything. His silence was enough. The manager walked back slowly, wiping sweat from his forehead. He knew he had escaped something far worse. The owner, standing across the room, watched everything with sharp eyes. The message had been delivered, and it would not be forgotten. Mia turned back to Daniel with confusion. Sir, why does the owner act like he knows you? Daniel exhaled softly. He had been expecting this question. Before he answered, the owner himself walked toward them. His steps were gentle but careful, like approaching someone he deeply respected. Sir, the owner greeted Daniel with a small bow of his head. You don't have to greet me like that, Daniel said calmly. It's only right, the owner replied quietly. Then he turned to Mia with a warm smile. You're lucky he cares for fairness. Mia wasn't sure what that meant. Sir, how do you know him? The owner looked at Daniel for permission. Daniel gave a small nod. The owner sat briefly beside their table. Years ago, he began, this restaurant was in trouble. I had problems with some dangerous people. I didn't know who to ask for help. Then a man was recommended to me. Someone who could solve things quietly. Mia listened closely. That man was Daniel, the owner said. Mia's breath caught. The owner continued. He never asked for payment. He never asked for favors. He only asked for one thing, that I run this place with respect. Daniel looked away modestly. Mia stared at him with wide eyes. Sir, you helped the owner? Daniel nodded slowly. A long time ago. But why? She asked. Daniel's voice lowered. Because this was the last place my wife worked before she passed away. She loved this restaurant. She loved serving people. I wanted this place to be safe. For everyone who worked here after her. Mia felt her heart squeeze. She whispered, Your wife worked here? Daniel nodded. She did. She worked hard like you. She kept her pain quiet, just like you. Mia blinked fast, trying not to cry. Daniel smiled gently. You remind me of her spirit, not her face, not her voice. But the way you carry kindness. The way you keep strength inside without showing it. Mia felt a warm tear slide down her cheek. Sir, I didn't know. You weren't meant to know, Daniel replied softly. I come sometimes, sit at table 7, drink coffee. Just to feel close to her memory. I don't talk to anyone. I don't involve myself. He looked directly at her now. But today, he said, I saw something she used to suffer from. And I couldn't stay silent. The restaurant had gone quiet again. Even the waiters slowed down as they passed by, understanding something meaningful was happening. Mia wiped her cheek softly. Thank you, sir, not just for today, but for everything you did before. Daniel shook his head. I didn't do anything special. You stood up for someone who had no voice, Mia whispered. That is special. Daniel gave a gentle smile. But the moment warmed by truth was interrupted when the manager returned again, this time with trembling fear. Owner, there is someone at the door asking for Daniel. The owner's eyes widened. Who? The manager's voice cracked. 2 men. In black suits. The entire restaurant froze again. Mia looked at Daniel with confusion and fear. Daniel sighed softly, almost tiredly. They must be here because of my old life, he said quietly. Mia swallowed. Old life? Daniel stood up slowly. And for the first time, he looked like a man everyone should fear, not because he was dangerous, but because he carried a past powerful enough to shake rooms. The moment Daniel stood up, the whole restaurant seemed to hold its breath. His calm expression did not change, but there was something new in his eyes, something strong, quiet, and heavy with history. Mia stood slowly too, her heart beating fast. She didn't know what his old life meant, but the way the owner and manager reacted told her it was something serious. The manager pointed nervously toward the entrance. They said they want to speak with you, sir. Daniel nodded once. I'll handle it. He walked toward the front door with slow, steady steps. The customers pretended not to look, but almost every head turned slightly. Mia stayed behind for a moment, unsure if she should follow. But something inside her, something gentle and brave, made her step toward him. She stayed a few steps behind him, watching carefully. As Daniel reached the entrance, 2 men in black suits stood waiting. They weren't loud, and they didn't look aggressive. They stood respectfully with hands folded. When Daniel appeared, both men nodded deeply. Sir, one of them said quietly, we've been looking for you. Daniel sighed softly. I told you not to follow me unless it was important. It is, the second man said. Your presence is needed. All eyes were watching now. But Daniel spoke calmly, as if this conversation was normal for him. I'm not part of that life anymore, Daniel said. We know, the first man replied gently. But people still respect you. They rely on you. Mia's breath caught. She suddenly understood. These were not dangerous men. These were men who respected Daniel, men who once followed him, men who still believed in him. The owner approached quietly from behind. Sir, if you need anything. Daniel raised a hand calmly. Everything is fine. He turned slightly and glanced at Mia. His expression softened instantly, the strong energy fading from his face when he looked at her. I'll step outside, Daniel said to her. Don't worry, but she did worry. She stepped forward. Sir, are you in danger? Daniel shook his head. No, not danger. Just responsibility. He looked back to the men. Wait for me outside. The two men nodded and stepped out. Daniel then turned to Mia, the owner, and even the staff who pretended not to watch. I never wanted anyone here to know who I was, he said quietly. I only came to sit at the table where my wife used to work, to drink coffee, to remember her. The owner placed a hand on his heart. We understand, sir. Daniel continued. I once worked with people who needed me to solve problems, people who respect loyalty and fairness. But I left that world behind. I wanted a life of peace. Mia stepped closer, her voice soft. Why did they come today? Daniel smiled gently. Because some people still think I can guide them, he paused. But I don't want that anymore. She felt something warm in her chest. A quiet respect, a soft admiration. Not for his past, but for his honesty, his calm strength, his kindness. He turned to her fully now, lowering his voice. Mia, before I go outside, I want you to know something. She looked up nervously. Yes? You handled everything today with dignity, he said. You stayed kind even when things were unfair. That is real strength. Mia felt tears fill her eyes. I only did what I thought was right. And that, Daniel said, is why you will go far. The owner stepped forward. Daniel, before you leave, I want to apologize to Mia again. And I want to thank you. This place will be different now. Daniel nodded. Make sure every worker feels safe. Not just her. I promise, the owner said. Daniel turned back to Mia. If anyone treats you unfairly again, you will speak up. Understand? Mia nodded softly. I will try, Daniel smiled. Not try. You will. The manager stood far back, ashamed but listening. He finally gathered courage to speak. Sir, Mia, I will change. I truly will. Daniel studied him quietly, then said, Change because it's right. Not because you're afraid. The manager nodded quickly. Yes, sir. Mia followed him a few steps. Will you come back? Daniel paused. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then he looked at her with soft eyes. I might, he said gently. If the coffee still tastes the same. Mia let out a small laugh, a warm one. I'll make sure it does. Daniel's smile grew, the kind of smile that held gratitude, memory, and peace. He stepped outside where the two men waited. As he walked away, customers whispered, staff members exchanged looks, and the owner placed a hand on Mia's shoulder. You have someone very special looking out for you, the owner said softly. Mia watched Daniel leave, her heart full of calm strength. Not because he was powerful, not because men in suits respected him, but because he respected her, because he stood for fairness, because he reminded her she deserved dignity. She turned back to the restaurant, feeling taller, braver, and lighter. Her new journey had started, and for the first time in a long time, Mia felt safe, truly safe, in her own workplace. A new beginning had finally arrived.